Can we have a roll call, please?
Carl Hopkins,
Here.
Bruce Miller,
Here.
Craig Arcuri,
Here.
Dolores Johnson, Karen Kahn,
Here.
Kirk Martin,
Here.
Jim Wilson.
Here.
Any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Any public comment slips?
I don't have
Uh,
any slips.
Any member of the public may speak on any subject within the jurisdiction that is not on the agenda, and we still have no public comment slips. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, notices that on Friday, June 12th at 5 p.m., the Airport Commission Secretary duly posted this agenda on the bulletin board. Next item is the minutes. Recommendation is that the Airport Commission waive the reading and approve the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, May 20th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Consent calendar, we have a number of items on here. We have a T-hanger lease. This, as I understand, means we're back full again.
We are full, yes.
We have a lease agreement with Carol Ashley doing business as Demo 2 Design. A lease agreement with Nareto Gandalf doing business as Nargon Fire and Safety. Consent to sublease between Ampersand Aviation and Plains All-American Pipeline. I think that's for the emergency operations center that moved in there. And that the Airport Commission received the monthly airport property management report. Do I have a motion for the consent calendar?
Motion to approve consent as presented. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Liaison reports. I see we have Councilman Michael T. Bennett here from the city of Goleta. You have anything to say to us, sir?
Nothing to report, but I will answer any questions.
Questions for the councilman? Thank you. So the first of the administrative reports is the direct relief project
We're gonna do
development
that one
status.
First one, okay. Good. Since this project started last summer, I thought it would be appropriate to give Airport Commission just a brief update on the status of the development. Direct Relief began putting together their design and permitting application last October and have recently worked on their traffic study. They've looked at archaeology in the soils of the land and have also had a survey completed. As you recall, we were going to sell 6 to 8.5 acres. The survey currently shows 7.99 acres. I kept saying, come on, go up to 8. But that they have the survey done, and they're looking to complete their development application for submittal to the city next week. And then once the city receives that proposal or that application, they'll see if it's complete, if all the information is there, and then schedule it for environmental review, and then it would go to Planning Commission. And I'm thinking that about this time next year, we should be in a position to close escrow. And then they would begin construction 90 days or 120 days thereafter. So I just wanted to give you a brief update just because we haven't really said much about it in the last couple of months. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have as well. And I did, there is an exhibit in your packet that you've seen. I think I've had that on the screen before with the development and the location.
Any questions, comments? Very good. We look forward to that.
Thank you.
And it looks like the next up is the airport commercial industrial lease rates.
Exactly. We do this, as you know, annually for you all to take a look at our rates and to make a recommendation. And Ms. Rebecca Fribley will be doing the presentation. Oh, you want to share? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Hazel. So the first thing that we always talk about a little bit is that the establishment of rates happens partly because the FAA requires airports to maintain their rentals at market rate. And we establish these rates annually based on comps not only from the local real estate companies, information that we get from the newspapers, and also the USCSB economic forecast data. Currently, the Business and Properties Division is managing 300,000 plus square feet of buildings and almost 5 million square feet of land, including both aviation and commercial industrial. We have 158 tenants and subtenants, and we're managing 180 agreements. The state of the economy, as you know, has had an impact on our rentals over the last couple of years. Our vacancy rates have been a little bit higher than we like to see them. But this year, things are starting to look up a little bit. The restaurant lease that we negotiated with High Sierra Grill, which has a rent of $12,694 a month, is going to come online probably in the spring. So that will be a big help. The Big Brand Tire lease is currently in effect, and that's resulted in over $7,000 a month in rental. And we've also been able to lease the Building 312, which was the old Flight Services building. We have a company in there that does online sales of storage containers, interestingly enough. And part of this success has been because we tried for the first time this year. We had talked about with Commission getting a little bit more out of the box in terms of how we advertised our properties. And while we're still getting most of our referrals by word of mouth, we actually put some buildings on Craigslist this year. And that seemed to be a really good avenue for us, and it got us some tenants that I think probably would not have found us in the ordinary way. So pre-recession vacancy rates, our P3 goal has always been 98% for both buildings and land. And right now we have 99.3% of land under lease and 98.3% of buildings under lease, and that's up from approximately 94% of land last year and 94% of buildings and 98% of land. So we're feeling pretty good about that. So these were some of the comparables that we put together. We looked over a 9-week period, and just like last year, when we limit our comps to actual sizes that we have here at the airport and are not looking at 30,000 square foot parcels, and we're not looking at downtown Santa Barbara, we're really looking at comps in Goleta. We don't have a lot of comparables, particularly in the areas of land and warehouse space. Industrial space also is quite scarce, and that's partly responsible for the rates that we're currently seeing. The UCSB forecast those are actual rentals. When you look at the Radius Group's forecast or their averages for their first quarter results, those are asking rates. So typically the getting is slightly lower, more in line with the UCSB rates. But you can see that our averages look pretty good compared to what's happening in the rest of the area. We have very little industrial space available. There's very little industrial space area available anywhere in Goleta that's small industrial. Offices, the vacancy rate is a little bit higher, but we've been doing pretty well. We have a couple of small individual office vacancies, but the majority of our buildings at this time are leased. So based on those rates, I am recommending that we do increase our rates a little bit. The bottom end basically reflects the fact that we have nobody underneath any of those rates that are current tenants, so there's no reason to maintain the rates at a lower level. And because of the comps that we've come up with, we used to have our high-end rate for office space at $1.85. We dropped it during the recession, And it's my recommendation at this time that we bring it back up to $1.85, which is more comparable with what we're seeing in Goleta. We've also been told by the Radius Group in particular that because of the scarcity issues, storage and warehouse rates are almost parallel to industrial rates at this time. So I'm recommending that we increase our storage rates on both ends, essentially, that we bring up the bottom, but we also bring up the top. And then that the industrial rate, the bottom rate, go up to at least $1. So in addition to that, I wanted to just make a comment about our budget going forward, because I know that's a large concern. The commercial industrial revenues for the FY 2016 budget, including utilities and permits, were estimated at $4,488,390 based on projected fiscal year 2015 commercial industrial revenue of $4,196,928, which is a 6.9% increase. So we are hoping to be able to increase the performance of the commercial industrial properties even more. So my recommendation is that Airport Commission approve the proposed fiscal year 2016 commercial industrial rental rates for land and buildings at the Santa Barbara Airport. Are there any questions? Yes, Kirk.
I'm sorry to ask this, but what was the reasoning that we did not wish to change the rental rates on the land?
At this time, we do have some large tracts of land, some of which are under old leases that are down at that lower end. I did not want to raise them summarily above that, because then we would have to raise those leases. We'd have to go back, renegotiate them, and raise them. So I wanted to leave that. Currently, the QTA is one of them.
Okay.
The rental car companies are paying 13 cents a square foot on the overflow parking. So I was not recommending a change on that at this time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Then I believe you are requesting the commission approve. Do we have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your excellent work. Next item, item 11, is adjust the advertising request for qualifications. The recommendation is that the Airport Commission receive a report regarding the status of the advertising concession at the airport terminal.
Correct, and once again, Ms. Fribley will make this presentation.
Okay, as you all are well aware, most airports have an advertising commission or a concession for handling all the advertising at an airport, including things like the Hotel Motel Courtesy Board, various types of display advertising that can range from anything like big screens with revolving advertising. Sometimes they have displays, sometimes it's sponsored art. There are a whole variety of different things that can compose an advertising program. Our advertising program over the last several years has been very curtailed because we really didn't have wall space or even floor space in the old historic terminal to do a significant advertising program that would actually attract a concessionaire. Now that we are in the new terminal, we have a lot of opportunity for advertising. So we went out with a request for qualifications and met with a group of companies, both local and national, in April. There were 6 companies represented, including the current advertising concessionaire, which is Prodigic. 5 submittals were received: Clear Channel Airports, Corey Airport Services, Oniricon, which is a local company, Virtual Info Systems, and Visitor TV. And after giving them a tour, we asked them to submit their qualifications. We looked into their references. And the idea was that rather than doing a request for proposals right off the beginning, that because our terminal is so beautiful and special in nature, that we wanted to partner with the advertising concessionaire to develop a program specifically for us and not end up with a cookie cutter program or something that would in some way end up with more advertising than or of a nature that we really were not interested in. But we certainly are interested in promoting the revenue side. So we evaluated the request for qualifications based on the organizational summary and background. One of the most important elements of that was whether they were going to have someone locally that would be our contact, that we could have a relationship with and not be an anonymous person that was going to be somewhere on the other end of the country that was difficult to get a hold of and not responsive. The proposed elements that they, after looking at the terminal, thought would be good for us: staff resources, the financial and capital resources to invest, because some of these things do require additional big screens, additional hookups for various services, and we wanted to be sure that they, if they were the successful qualifier, that they actually had the financial resources to put their program into place, and who their current clients were and relevant experience. After looking at all of those qualifications, we selected Clear Channel Airports and Corey Advertising Services to make presentations, and these presentations are scheduled for mid-July. Following that, we will be looking at selecting a proposer and entering into direct negotiations with them, and then following up with a concession agreement that we will bring to Airport Commission for approval. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions, anyone?
No?
Sounds like a very well thought out process and an excellent way to proceed. We look forward to your next report. And I think that brings us to item 12, the director's report.
This is a quick evening. Yes, indeed. I wanted to bring to your attention the passenger count. And while we are still down 2.8%, excuse me, United is actually up 8.9%, and U.S. Airways / American is up 7.8%. So we are gaining some passengers back on those flights, so that's encouraging. Our marketing program, we are still promoting the Thanks Again program at the terminal, so encouraging folks to sign up so that they can get points on their for either flights or hotels. We've been doing a lot of advertising on buses, as well as various media, Newshawk, The Independent, Ojai Valley News, to generate interest and knowledge so that folks can fly out of Santa Barbara. The master plan, our draft environmental impact report, we're finalizing our traffic study, and then we'll hopefully have that report released sometime in the month of July. And we'll bring that back to Airport Commission. And I wanted to point out item D on your report, the financial summary. As of May 31st, our operating revenues at this point are up 0.5% above budget, but our expenditures are 9% below budget. So we're still working with that. Even with factoring in any outstanding encumbrance, we're still 4.5% or 4.8% below budget. So we hope to save a few dollars this fiscal year. With that, I believe that completes my report.
Any questions, comments? Thank you very much. It's always good to hear revenues up and expenses down. And with that, I think we are adjourned.
Absolutely. Thank you.